Thank you very much. This segment is going to focus on the ASEAN Mutual Recognition Arrangements on tourism professionals. We've been talking about MICE, but MICE cannot survive without hotels, they cannot survive without restaurants, they cannot survive with all the other things that are needed to make sure that the stay of the MICE guest is actually spelled out well. And so, the topic for today is going to be, where is the ASEAN-MRA on TP moving forward? You've got a lot of countries who have invested quite a lot of training on this, and some countries have actually been very quick in making sure that the ASEAN-MRA on TP is actually incorporated in many of the curricula. Some have taken their time to make sure that, launching it in 2012, where are we right now after almost 12 years of training? As mentioned earlier, there are 10 countries in ASEAN, and all of these countries actually work together to make sure that one of the key strategies that they did was the ASEAN community. Where is ASEAN Mutual Recognition Arrangement found? It's found actually at the ASEAN Economic Community. And along this, there are 4 pillars that you have: the single market and production base. There is also the competitive economic region, equitable economic development, integration in the global economy. Where do we find ASEAN-MRA? There's a lot of, levels that we have to go through. It's found in the single market and production base, and we're looking actually at free flow of skilled labor. You're looking at $1 billion investment in tourism. You're also looking at recouping that, but you've got to make sure that you have quality service that's provided to the customers, whether you are business, you are in hospitality as well. So there are currently 8 MRAs that have been signed. You've got in electronics, engineering, nursing, and all the other professions. But tourism professional is unique because we were only it was only signed in 2012. We are now 2024. What have we done in the 12 years that we have had that MRA? Some of the documents you might want to find out what we have signed. You can actually go to the QR code or the bit.ly link that has been placed. Each country actually assigned their significant infrastructure. We have the regional level. At the regional level, there is the ASEAN Tourism Profession Monitoring Committee that comes together and meets regularly. These are composed of the National Tourism Organization from each country, as well as representatives from the National Tourism Professional Board. At the national level, you've got the National Tourism Professional Board. Each country actually assigns this, as well as a Tourism Professional Certification Board. Now, in some countries, there's just one agency that actually does the work of 3, the NTO, the TPCB, as well as the NTPB. But in the Philippines, we have the NTO, no less than the Department of Tourism. The National Tourism Professional Board is the TIBFI, the Tourism Industry Board Foundation Incorporated. Then we have the Tourism Professional Certification Board, which is TESDA. There are 2 primary labor divisions initially: hotel services and travel services. You've got secondary labor divisions that includes front office, housekeeping, food production, food and beverage service. In travel services, there are the travel agency as a tour operator. And then now, a new incoming labor division is on MICE, which will have 3 secondary labor divisions that will include conference, exhibitions, and events. Why are we so interested about this? Because we've got to make sure that whether you are in Brunei, in Singapore, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, in the Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, whatever country it is, we have defined already what the minimum standards are for all of these tourism professionals. And you can actually find it in the ASEAN, Common ASEAN Tourism Curriculum, which you can access actually later. I'll show you. It's composed of several competencies, clusters of competencies. You've got core engineering competencies that are required competencies for each labor division. You also have a set of competencies there. You also have the functional competencies. Now you can be selective. You can be flexible in the sense when you select the competencies, it is attuned to what that particular country needs. And then you have the levels. I'll discuss that more in a bit, but where do you find the common ASEAN tourism curriculum? We love to make sure that everyone, the tourism professionals, will have the same minimum standards in terms of the requirements in competency. You can find it in the common ASEAN tourism curriculum. There are several qualifications right now. There are 52. If you take a look at the primary, there's hotel services and travel services. Then you've got the secondary labor divisions, which are posted on the second column. The levels would actually be spelled out as Certificate 2, Certificate 3, Certificate 4, Diploma, and Advanced Diploma. 52 qualifications all crammed into one page. But you can actually, MICE will actually be adding to these qualifications pretty soon. What do we know about levels 1, levels 2, and so on? These are the descriptors that you find. Certificate 1 is basic routine. These are what? Rank and file, all the way to level 5 where you have advanced diploma level. So right now, there are 32 job titles that are available. You have in hotel services, in travel services, as well as in coming soon would be MICE. To be a competent tourism professional, you need to have core competencies, generic competencies, as well as functional competencies. Where do you find this? You've got actually 2 boxes already that have been designed, that have been developed by the ASEAN consultant. You've got an assessor manual, presentation slides at that. We also have the trainee guides and trainee manual. Unfortunately, the website where all of these toolboxes are located, we don't have that available now, available for everyone in the ASEAN region, but each country would have access to this information already. As mentioned, MICE already has come up with draft competency standards, assessor's manual, presentation slides. You also have trainee guides and trainee manuals. You can find all of these materials, draft materials, by the way, in the in the QR code as well as in the bit.ly link. So, given that introduction, I want to find out now what we have done, where we're going. And to start off, we're going to be talking to Dr. Beth, who wears many hats, but she's actually an ASEAN Master. We have our Mama-san. She takes care of us whenever we go for any of the activities that are related to ASEAN-MRA on TP, and this is Miss Jing Jacobo. And we also have yours truly, who's actually been doing some work also for DOT with regards to evaluating or reviewing the ACCSTP as well as the CATC. At this point, maybe we can proceed to the next presentation. Dr. Beth and myself were very fortunate enough to get funding from the Department of Tourism some years back, and we were able to do a research that is entitled, it's such a mouthful and there's a lot of acronyms in it. This grant allowed us to do a study on where the Philippines is in terms of the implementation of the ASEAN Mutual Recognition Arrangement. You have the readiness of teachers, trainers, and training institutions in the implementation of the ASEAN Mutual Recognition Arrangements on tourism professionals, common ASEAN tourism curriculum at the Department of Education level. We're talking about senior high school, TESDA, which is Technical Vocational, Technical Education Skills and Development Authority, and CHED, the Commission on Higher Education that is in charge of post-secondary training. This is for college level. Institutions in selected regions of the Philippines. We were not given an unlimited budget, and so we had to make sure that we select specific regions, specific provinces within the region. And so the highlight is in the Philippines, and this would be something that can maybe replicated in other ASEAN member states as well. So what did we do? We had to make sure that we had to take a look at, during that time, the World Economic Forum said that ASEAN will become one of the largest economies by 2020. And that was something that was interesting for us to have. Then, part of it was ASEAN Tourism Strategic Plan 2016-2025, where they said that we needed to provide quality tourism destination offering unique and yet diverse experiences in the various countries. The Philippines use it actually to make sure that tourism has been identified as one of the key economic generators. Right now, the figures are what? We have 6.4 million tourist professionals in various sectors. We have 8.6 GDP contribution. We also have how many trillion contribution as tourism expenditure. There's 6 point something trillion. So the Philippines, recognizing it, has made sure that we're able to educate, train tourism professionals complying with the ASEAN mutual recognition arrangements. So there is also a thrust to make sure that we synergize our efforts, and that's why there's a convergence that happened along the way. So what would the study mean? The study would mean making sure if the implementation of the standards was done well, or are there gaps that have been identified. It would also mean that the study would be sort of initiating the way to policy, as well to policy significance. And the third would be, ensuring that workforce will meet industry as well as ASEAN member state standards as defined in the ASEAN Mutual Recognition Arrangement on Tourism Professional. So what we found, what we wanted to find out, to identify the schools in selected regions based on the enrollment. We also wanted to make sure to compare the qualifications of faculty, the training materials that are being used, and the facilities through using an ocular as well as a survey to make recommendations on policies and to identify issues and challenges in implementing the certification and recognition process. So scope and limitation, we had to make sure that we were constant in making sure that the standards we were looking at would be the ASEAN Mutual Recognition Arrangement for Tourism Professionals. So we're looking at using the Common ASEAN Tourism Curriculum, making sure that they're knowledgeable about the ASEAN Common Competency Standards for Tourism Professional. We also had to limit it using the main islands of the Philippines, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. There are close to 7,400 islands right now in the Philippines, but we didn't have that much luxury in terms of budget. So what we did was we selected one region per island. We had to make sure that we chose the DepEd, TESDA, and CHED with the highest number of enrollees. Why did we do this? Because we wanted to make sure that the school with the highest enrollment would have what? The capability to implement the curriculum of ASEAN, Common ASEAN Tourism Curriculum. The research design included the use of this descriptive sampling technique. We use clustered sampling technique. For data gathering, we had survey instrument and FGD. We also did an interview, site visits, as well as an observation and analysis. So what were the outcomes? We had data gathering. We used the standards. We used the ASEAN Mutual Recognition Arrangement, and now we're going to do the policy recommendation. In terms of the FGD, we had 3 FGDs with around 200 participants. For the survey, we had 200 respondents. For the FGD, 32 participants. And the interview, in-depth interview from each of the different schools, we had around 24. And then we chose, based on the islands, we selected 1 school each. We were very fortunate that all the schools selected were actually part of the same region for Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And now let me turn over to my partner in crime, Dr. Beth, for the results and findings of our study that was fortunate enough to find its way to a book that actually is published by Springer. Maybe Beth will actually expound on this later.
mission is to form a network or clusters of ASEAN universities so that the researchers could come together in order to work jointly and also contribute to the ASEAN region itself.
Mabuhay! A pleasant afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 15th ASEAN Tourism Research Association Tourism Forum.
Mabuhay! Love the Philippines!
There's so much of future in event management actually. You can do general or you can specialize. It was actually inspired, just to share a little bit of the history of ASEAN Tourism Research Association. It was inspired by someone who was an advisor to the Ministry of Higher Education back in 2011. He called me and he said, why don't you start something that's very different from others? So I said, okay, let's start ASEAN Tourism Research Association. Why don't we do that?
We are very grateful to have our distinguished guests with us today. Thank you for bringing back the sunshine to the Philippines.
The future of MICE, business events in ASEAN, and the progress of the ASEAN-MRA TP hinge on innovation, sustainability, and teamwork. Today is the perfect opportunity to come together and enhance these efforts.
And another thing that Thailand has realized is that we have a lot of festivals. We have introduced the concept called festival economy so that we can bring festivals locally up to the international level.
The National Tourism Development Plan of 2023 to 2028 has been approved. And this plan seeks to build a tourism industry that is deeply anchored on Filipino culture, heritage, and identity.
What is next future? Future means not next 5 years, future is beyond that, right? What is next 2040, 2050? In terms of workforce, we won't have many. So this is where the utilization of AI is important.
We are assured that the Filipino workforce are actually competent and their competencies are recognized and at par with international standards.
The thing that we are expecting, most of my colleagues, is if we have a branding but we don't have a strategic action to support the branding, it's useless. The distance between idea and success is execution. And most of the time, the problem is execution.
We were very fortunate that all the schools selected were actually part of the same region for Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao.
I must congratulate you for all the sharings that you have shared with us for tourism and MICE industry.
Mabuhay! Love the Philippines!
Love the Philippines, love Metro Manila, it all starts here. Mabuhay at maraming salamat. Thank you for your time and attention, and let us work together to continue to transform the future of MICE in ASEAN and beyond.